All right, welcome to the show, Claire Phillips. It's so exciting to have you on the show today on our podcast, and we're super buoyed by this chat today. And we're diving into, I guess, a few concepts that are underneath the physicality. And if anyone is going to be knowledgeable in this area, it is beautiful Claire Phillips. So welcome.
Thank you so much. What a beautiful introduction. It's a pleasure to be here, and thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to see where this discussion is going to go.
Yeah, so we don't really know where it's going to go, but we've got a rough idea. Yeah. So Claire, you work in kind of a similar space to us, I guess, in terms of working with people, coaching, maybe even working in relationships as well. And yeah, I'm just curious and wondering, kind of, what is it that you really love about this space?
Oh, that's a great question. I actually really love, so when I'm working with clients, I love them seeing and finally or understanding a deeper part of themselves. So when they get that deeper understanding, you can almost see that like a layer of protection comes off of them as they're like, oh, that's why. And they're shifting through whatever it is that's been holding them back. And they suddenly become this new person. And I mean, I've experienced that myself in my own life, as I'm sure you have, but to actually witness it in your clients is such a beautiful thing, especially when you're working, one-on-one with people. You see them at the start, and then at the end of, your one-on-one time together, you're like, wow, look at this transformation. And it's huge, and it's so humbling and really fills my heart with so much joy and love and gratitude to be doing this work and guiding people on that journey. Because ultimately, you are your own healer, but having, someone along the way to hold your hand and go, okay, it's okay. This is the way you can go. It's safe. And have you looked at things this way? And really sort of creating an awareness of a different perception or even a new paradigm in the way that people see their entire life and the outlook of life. It's truly beautiful work.
Yeah, spot on, Claire. And I think that's why we're here, right? To help with that shift in people and the awareness changing and the different way to see things and experience life. So yeah, it's really exciting to see more people in this space coming, into the world of helping and supporting and I guess ultimately creating a better universe for us all to be on. So yeah, love it. It's great. Yeah,
absolutely. It's a huge shift going on at the moment. This kind of work is really expanding, which is beautiful to see.
Yeah. So good.
Yeah, it's so well. So today I really wanted to dive into something that I guess it's just like an undercurrent underneath all of us individually, and of course we're in the world as individuals, and where we often marry up energetically and also physically, in the term of like getting married and hooking up with somebody else. And it's so interesting that you I don't know, you might have like underlying energies that attract each other. And to me, like, I just wanted to explore that today, and how this can be really beautiful, and how this can equally be an absolute nightmare for people as well. And so I guess just to unpack this to start with, I wanted to ask, can you kind of explain to the listeners that we have here the concept of masculine and feminine energies in terms of like how they both present within us?
Yeah, absolutely. So gender is not specific on this. So you can be male or female, and you will have both a beautiful complex mix of the feminine and the masculine energies. And the main reason for these beautiful energies is, if you are of the belief of source consciousness and we've come down here to experience and experiment and evolve, then the feminine and the masculine energies are for us to experience polarity, to have a difference, to have a point of difference, but yet also have this attraction. So within that, energetics become behaviors or traits. So a typical feminine, we'll call it light feminine, first of all, trait would be the nurturing, the creator, the sustainer of life, loving, receiving. When you think of a divine goddess, I suppose, and that's your typical feminine light traits, loving, giving, nurturing, soft, all that beautiful stuff. But then you also have the shadow traits too, right? And these get a bit of a bad flag. So then you've got the dark feminine, which can be manipulative. It can be victimhood. It can be unable to receive, so defensive. And then you've also, that plays out as well in the masculine too. So your masculine, you've got the beautiful light masculine, which is the provider, the protector, the courage, the one who the protector. Like you can see him if you think of a divine masculine, very a leader, but gentle in his leadership. But then obviously you've got the shadow masculine too, which can come through as controlling, aggressive, abusive, very driven by sexual desires. Another one for the dark feminine can be seductive as well. So I'm not saying seductive's bad, but when seduction's used to manipulate and control, that's seen as a dark kind of feminine. Now, what can tend to play out is, light and dark automatically, anybody who's listening to this, and I've done it myself, is like, I'm light. You don't want to even think that you could be one of those darks. But if you actually sit there and if you're 100% honest with yourself, and I'll sit here now and own it, I've been manipulative, I've been controlling, I've used seduction to try and get my own way. Like I've definitely done those things, because at the end of the day, these are energies that are flowing within us, and they're also ignited by experience or wounds that we might be holding from our past. So, and the worst thing that we can do is shun our shadow, block it out and reject it, because it's going to keep coming back at you. So also what can play out is a woman, I'm going to go with the woman because I can actually speak very much from experience, is like a woman who may have experienced some form of trauma from her past can lean into her masculine way too much. So she can become controlling. She can become hyper independent. She can become aggressive or angry or holding and protecting her own energy, overprotective. And this might be a controversial subject, but it's sort of been spoken about in the feminist movement. And energetics wise, we may have gone too far. We've swung the pendulum and gone too far, and women are now in their masculine way more than they are in their feminine. And this is really impacting relationships, because the male feels like he doesn't have a place because he's getting pushed into his feminine. If you think about polarity, if the woman's mainly in her masculine, then the man has to be mainly in his feminine for that to coexist. Now, this isn't natural, and it will play out in arguments. So the man can be displaying kind of dismissive behaviors, the yes person, the one who doesn't want to rock the boat, but also won't want to lead and take charge and provide. And the woman then will take that role instead and will be leading and doing all the things and getting really frustrated with him and causing all the arguments. So you can see how this energetically can create quite the aggravation within a relationship. But the reason that people are in these pendulum or out of balance pendulum twists within their own energetics is related back to their past and what they may have experienced in their past. Does that make sense? Have I?
Yeah, beautifully articulated. And sometimes I know it can be really tricky to articulate this. I love how you spoke about polarity, and that when you have an imbalance, it can be really unhealthy in terms of the connection that you have, because there's no charge there, right? There's just no spark. People talk about like, oh, we're lacking spark. Well, it'd be great to almost self-assess your own internal energies to see how imbalanced you actually are. And I know society and history plays a lot into this, like you said. I mean, for sure, I know heaps of guys that are in this place where they're dropped into a feminine state, an unhealthy, feminine state, where they've just kind of, oh, I'm easy, I just go with the flow, and I'll just, I don't mind where we go out to dinner. And these kinds of dynamics, that certainly was part of me as well. Now, I would say that can become really unhealthy, because then the woman, and maybe you can speak into this too, that if she ultimately at a deeper level doesn't feel like she can trust you being a leader, then that's going to play out in the connection, because deep down she's lacking trust, she's lacking confidence in you, she's lacking leadership and safety. And so when she feels like she lacks those things, then I don't know, do you think she overcompensates in her masculine energy and then needs to take charge and control even more?
100%, 100%.
Yeah.
Absolutely. You've hit the nail massively on the head there. And it's really speaking from experience of, like, in my past, where I've been in relationships where I haven't felt safe. I didn't realize at the time that I didn't feel safe, but I can look back now and realize that I didn't feel safe, not because I was threatened or anything like that, but there just wasn't that masculine energy within the relationship. I had, like, again, my partner was very go with the flow and not taking charge, and I would do everything. And that's not, that's but accountability on both sides. I was in my masculine and I was forcing him into his feminine, and he was, it's just how it went. So there's no blame within that relationship, and that's how it played out. But I know from recent experience, I was in a beautiful, healthy relationship, and that for the first time in my entire life, I felt fully held and secure and safe. And the levels of vulnerability that opened up within me, the levels of softness and nurture and receptiveness were phenomenal. And not only in the relationship, but that ripples through, like, into your sex life, into every aspect of that relationship. So having that beautiful, healthy coexistence is beautiful for both sides, because the man, he's in his masculine, he's providing, because men want to provide at their very core. At the end of the day, and they also want to feel nurtured, they want to feel loved, they want to hear your words of affirmation, of gratitude and love. That's a load of BS when people say that men don't want to be loved. But I call massive BS. Men want to be nurtured and loved. They want to know that they've provided for their woman and that they're providing the safety. And it's okay for women to be vulnerable and go, thank you so much for providing me with safety. Even if you believe that you can provide your own safety, great. But if you've got a man here that's going, here's a safe haven in our relationship, in our connection, be grateful for that. Show your gratitude. Because what can tend to happen is women will punish their men by not showing the gratitude, withholding love. And again, it's a manipulation tactic. It's a wounded feminine. And again, I'll hold my hands up. I've been guilty of this in the past. And it definitely plays out in a negative aspect in a relationship. And it's through fear of actually wanting to be vulnerable. It's through fear of of intimacy. But when you actually have this beautiful, healthy dynamic, that fear falls away and you're able to be intimate. You're able to be vulnerable because you feel safe. Therefore, you're able to let your love flow to that man and, adore him and speak love and affirmations and to him. And he's going to shower that back to you and want to show you more protection and love and care and providing, because it's just beautiful. It's magnetic.
Yeah, for sure. I'm curious, Claire, for the listeners out there who are listening to this and go, okay, I'm making sense of this. I get it. Like we can see that there's imbalances, and we see it a lot, obviously, through our work and our clients, and we've experienced in our relationship as well. So we're not immune either. But I'm curious to know from your point of view, or how you've learnt to, I guess, step out of that toxic masculine or unhealthy masculine state more into your feminine, to allow that man to do that. Is there any particular things that you've become aware of and done, or is it just naturally happened because the man was more masculine, or how did this change?
No, because if he came to me 4 years ago, I would have been, we wouldn't, because if we go into some energetics right now, we would have been vibrating on completely different levels, because at the end of the day, we are all energy. Our entire being is energetic. And the vibrations that you're at is going to be attracting who you are. So whatever's going on the inside, so if I'm in my masculine and I'm over controlling, I'm going to be attracting a man who's hyperly into his feminine and is free flowing, and that's what's just going to go together. What's going to go together, right? So what happened was, when I broke up in my previous relationship, I took some time to do the inwards work, to address my childhood, to address my core wounds, to create awareness around all of this. And upon that journey, I've learned so much about myself, and also energetics and how that's playing out in relationships and how I'm attracting men. You know, if you're a woman who's currently in a hyper masculine, hyper independent, I can do it all, I run, especially like you see it a lot, I'm a boss bitch, I run my own business. Awesome. I'm really, really happy for you, and that's great. But also, are you allowing someone to come in and provide and protect for you? Because you can still be a boss bitch and have a beautiful masculine man who holds you. So there seems to be this real push for women to be hyper masculine. And to be perfectly honest, it's not healthy for women to be in hyper masculine, because we are secular beings and we're not honoring our cycle every month. So we're going work. You're going to go into burnout. You're going to be tired. You're going to be depleted. You're going to be depressed. Like, it's not a pretty time in burnout. So actually, for me, taking the time and stopping and going, right, what's going on in my life? Why am I getting, because the first thing that came up for me was I was attracting the same relationship. And I'm like, what is going on here? Why is this like, I don't get it. And then from that's when it's, you know, it's creating awareness and going on your own journey and doing your own investigations and getting a coach, getting a mentor. Don't be afraid to have some guidance from someone else, because that's going to help you accelerate way quicker than trying to do it on your own. Because I think I spent probably 3 years, first of all, got hyper independent here. I don't need anyone. And it wasn't, you know, in the latter years, I finally got mentors and stuff, and my growth has been boom, 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 because I've got someone showing me the way. And it's actually allowed me to soften into my feminine even more, because it's okay to receive.
Yes. Yeah.
Well
Beautiful. So would you suggest, like, starting, just to summarize that, starting like looking at self-inquiry into your past, your trauma, your core wounds, where potentially you've had to, whatever that balance is, whether it's for the male, you know, in his feminine state, or the female in her masculine, just to kind of explore that more, to find out maybe the root of the cause of why you're showing up like that in your relationship. Is that what you were suggesting?
Yeah, 100%. And even if you're in a relationship right now and it's not all rainbows and butterflies, maybe sitting down first of all on your own and going, okay, what part am I playing in this? What am I doing within this relationship? And taking radical accountability, because what can happen, I mean, we're all guilty of it, of being in a relationship and throwing the resentment at the other person. He doesn't do that. She does this. She nags me. He does that, you know, like, that's not going to get you anywhere. You're just going to have this resentment-filled lens of looking at the person who you once loved. But taking some time and going, okay, right, there is some stuff going on here. We're arguing all the time. Why? Ask yourself why, and, you know, journal, write some stuff down. And then when you're feeling more confident or happy, or in a space that's clearer, because you don't want to be going to your partner with all this stuff that you've written down and gone, hey, here's a list of all the shit that makes me unhappy, because he's just going to go, or she's just going to go. So, you know, writing down your accountability in this. What are you doing in the relationship? How are you showing up? And then going to them at a peaceful time when you're calm and in your nervous system. If you don't know what that means, I just mean in a calm state of mind, where you're not fired up, where you're thinking correctly, where you're breathing normally, and you can actually go and speak to your partner and go, hey, can we have a discussion? Because I feel like, you know, there's stuff going on between us at the moment, and I'm seeing here how I'm not showing up. And I'm wondering if you're in agreement to this. How is this affecting you? And actually looking at it from the other person's lens, because often we get stuck in our own story. What about the other person?
Yeah. 100%. Great advice. That's such a good tip. Thank you.
Because I think that's the most powerful way to approach this, is to inquire as to what am I actually contributing to this. And, you know, it takes some radical responsibility, like you said. Because we can spend all of our energy and time in this, I guess, this energy of negative sentiment override, where no matter what you say, I'm going to look at that now as being a negative because of the history, because of all the stuff. But if we can just start with us and go, cool, let me write down some of the things that I'm noticing in myself. It's like parts of yourself. And I'm sure you deal with that a lot with clients, is that, look at this part of me that pops its head up. I don't like that part of me. And I think that identifying it first is that's the key to start this process. And I love how you spoke into that. And actually, I just wanted to add to that is that I've hurt my back like 2 days ago, and now I'm in this phase where it's like really constricting and spasming and protecting. And I'm just, as we're speaking in this conversation, that's how I see it sometimes when we're wounded and our energy is now guarded. And it's sort of like you're in protective mode. And yes, I'm going to keep my spine safe because my back is protecting me like that. But the residual effect of that in the long term, it's not sustainable. Like I do not want to be in this state for the rest of my life. And it may lead to further imbalances in my physicality if I stay like that.
Yeah. Such a good analogy. Because, for people who maybe aren't aware of their energetic field.
Yeah.
If you're currently in a relationship and you've shut down and you've got this resentment lens on and you're just angry and frustrated and, maybe you're not intimate together, and that's pulsating out of you every freaking day. That energy, that vibration is boof, 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 boof. And your partner's picking up on that. And he or she's probably got the similar kind of energetic field, because you're both in this lack of love for each other and this resentment and frustration, and it's just playing out and out. And if you are finding that you are just repeating the same stuff, so maybe you have an argument, you kind of make up, and then you have another argument about the same thing, then you kind of make up, and then you have another, there's a reason for that. It's because you're stuck in an energetic loop of your own making. Something needs to change. And that's either you sitting down and having discussions and shifting that energy, or shifting the path, whatever's going on. But there needs to be awareness around that, as you're just going to keep perpetuating the same cycle day in, day out. And if you're not careful, it'll break down your relationship to the point where you go, I can't do this anymore. But if you're taking the time at the start and gone, okay, I'm repeating the same cycle, the relationship will probably be saved.
Yeah, exactly. And that's, I think sometimes we just get so caught up in the hecticness of life and busyness. Oh no, it'll get better one day. Oh, I'll have another beer, or I'll go on a holiday and that will fix it. Or, like there's always something else that they will, look to as a solution. Then actually, oh, maybe I've got something to play in this. So it's a really good message to take away for the listeners is, maybe it's time to actually look inward a little bit. And I love what you were saying before about getting some support, like getting some help. There's coaches out there that can kind of go, actually, I can see the pattern. I've either experienced it or I see it in clients. So let's break that pattern to help you guys move forward and shift. And I think it's detrimental to a relationship to actually continue in that. It's just going to cause a lot more friction and heartache down the path, if they continue like that.
Absolutely.
So I wanted to just speak into masculinity just now, if that's okay. When some women hear the term masculinity, something triggers off, and I want to know if you can explain why that is. We speak about toxic masculinity. I hear that thrown around a lot. I wanted to see if you could speak into that, and then also speak into, like, is there a really healthy masculinity, and what does it look like?
Okay. It's a really interesting conversation, because as soon as you said that, like the message was ancestral. So there's a lot of ancestral trauma that we're all holding from hundreds and hundreds of years. And this may not be your belief if you're listening to this, and that's absolutely fine. So you can take what resonates, drop what doesn't. But I would point you in the direction of Bruce Lipton, who does epigenetics, if you want a scientific explanation of what I'm about to say. But anyway, so ancestral trauma is energetically been pulled through to us from hundreds and hundreds of years. And you think in the last, we'll just go 500 years, we've been in a very heavy masculine world with war, dominance, control. That's that real, like dark masculine energy that we've been living in for quite a while now. And this big shift that's going on at the moment is that shift to equilibrium. But obviously we're swinging a lot at the moment, which is absolutely perfect, and it's all happening as it should. But I think that's where this the trigger for a feminine or a female can be, we hear masculine, they're like, oh, because, you know, there has been that dominance, that control over the feminine for so long. You know, women couldn't even vote, however long, until the 60s. A lot of women were persecuted, all that kind of stuff. So there's that's playing out still karmically, energetically coming through. Also, we can't deny the amount of sexual abuse that goes on within society, and I think again that's a real pain point for a lot of women and men. Again, that masculine, shadowy masculine playing out. I think that triggers a lot of people subconsciously without them even realizing where it's coming from, you know. And also with the feminine, that feminism coming through, there's this real, as again, that swing where we've gone into feminine rights, blah blah blah, we're equal. Again, I'm going to call bullshit. We're not equal, we're very different, and that's okay, and it's all perfect. We don't have to be equal to men. I believe in equal, you know, opportunities and pay and all that kind of stuff, but I feel it's gone too far when it, you know, a woman is, they're saying that they can do the same as a man in the army or the same as a man in weightlifting. No, you can't, love. And it's okay. That's your physical body, and it's all good. You don't have to fight that fight. But I think there's a lot of wounding that goes a lot deeper than we can see and know. The healthy or the light masculine. So healthy and light, such an interesting word, because this is my belief, and from what I've seen with clients and working with myself, is for a person to become into a balance, if we look at it as a pendulum, into a balanced state, and not having so much charge on either end, so the dark and the light, there needs to be some integration and acceptance of both. Because if you're sitting here going, so from my perspective, I just sat here and was like, I'm loving and nurturing and creative and all things light and rainbows and butterflies, that's a complete lie. Because like I've said to you, I've been manipulative. I probably still will be manipulative at some point in my life, but I'll catch it and go, oh, what am I doing here? What's playing out? I think if you deny these parts of yourself, you are literally denying part of you exists. And that's going to come out even more. So for like with the healthy masculine, if there's a man who is currently maybe struggling with like addictions or aggression and over sexual tendencies or whatever it is, actually owning them rather than hiding them, because once you start owning them, they kind of lose their power over you. And it's like, okay, I am aggressive, great, like you're a man, you can be, that's part of your makeup, you know, the anger, the fight, the drive, the courage, it's all part of who you are. It's when it's then hidden, it becomes an issue. And then this is what plays out, you know, this is what's playing out with a lot of a bit of a trigger warning, but with sexual assaults and stuff, that's the shadow being hidden for so long. It's been, you know, hidden away, that is playing out in the shadow, and it's still coming out because it's not being allowed to be seen. And I could go down the path of religious aspects of it not being seen, and that's where it plays out the most. And again, another controversial subject, but it's basically not allowing it to be seen lets it play out more.
It is so interesting. And
it's great.
And that really did answer it. It's I think with guys as well, there's so much shame, you know, and toxic shame builds up from past experiences and things that have been pushed away because it's not okay to have been, you know, doing this or to act in this way. And so again, you just push that part of yourself away, but it just pops up in other unhealthy ways, like you said, in an aggressive way that's actually kind of really damaging. In a domineering way, you know, which is, that's actually not what a true healthy masculine man does. You know, he can be aggressive when needed. He can kill a beast if he needs to, you know, he can kill. But he can also nurture a baby with so much love and depth and connection and be vulnerable at the same time, right? So it's sort of like that's I believe an integrated man, a masculine man who is well integrated.
That's a powerful man. That is you can feel a healthy masculine man, because, well, personally I'm drawn, like, it's like, that's nice, that feels nice, because they're standing in their grounded energy, they know who they are, they can lead, but they're not, like you say, they're not domineering, and it's a beautiful energy to be around. And On a side note of that, Michael, I don't know what you guys have up where you are, but down, I'm very blessed here on the Gold Coast. We have lots of stuff, but they have a lot of men's groups here and men's gatherings of men, they call it. And it's a really beautiful space where men can actually go and be men and actually lean into their shadow. So they do wrestling, and they do this shadow work around it all, so that men can actually be men rather than it be shamed, like you said, and they can own their masculinity. They can shine a light on their shadow side and allow themselves to be fully integrated, which I think is such important work at the moment.
Yeah, you're right. It's really prominent, and I know of a quite prominent gathering down there, and I'm booked in to go next year, aren't I, love?
Are you?
I haven't
That's news for me.
I haven't told you yet, but I'm thinking about dropping into that one. So because I believe that even in the men's circles that we run, that's actually kind of beautiful and nice to drop into actually like more of a feminine energy, where it's like, okay, this is safe for me to open up with other guys and actually speak about my struggles. That's vulnerability, which is so beautiful and powerful and insanely awesome and liberating for guys. But at some point, we've still got to address the underlying things that we've pushed away. The beast within that needs to come out, that wants to come out. And but you're scared to bring it out because at some stage you might have, as an 11-year-old, had a fit of rage or something at some kid kicking a goal against you, and you were told that that's not how you behave. Don't do that. So, you know, we do need to address that, all these parts. It's so healthy for us to explore and let these parts come out in a you know, I guess in a good way, in a healthy way.
It's funny because I'm just thinking of the opposite of that as well for the female. Like, you know, like there's so many parts of the feminine that we've been pushed away and hidden away, you know, like that our sexuality and our sensuality and you know, all of that stuff. I don't know about you, Claire, but my childhood was like, you know, all of that stuff was very much shunned and hidden, you know, like you don't touch yourself, you don't look at yourself, you just like hide that part away, you know, all of that stuff was very kind of almost shameful or taboo, you know. But I feel like that's blocked a lot of that true feminine, that sensuality, you know, that sexuality to be able to be expressed and shown. And it was kind of almost cooler to be a tomboy for me when I was growing up. It was like, oh yeah, you should be a tomboy, like, you know, tomboys are cool. So that's kind of what I fell into, and I was like competing against the boys and trying to, you know, be as good as the boys, and I can be a boy, you know. But yeah, I realized how actually that's quite a big impact on the way our relationship is and the way you parent, and like ripple effects down so much. So I feel like just as the men need their you know, their brotherhood and their masculine space, so do us women. We really need to be nurtured in that more, and I think guided in that, and I feel like that's really missing as well.
Yeah, I agree, absolutely. And I think, you know, as women as well, we've forgotten how to connect with each other, how to support each other. Society has set us up to be against each other and catty and bitchy and judgmental and stuff. And that, again, the judgmental, that shadow feminine coming through. And it's all good to have that part of you, but also asking yourself, why is that coming through? Where is it coming from? And I believe as well, like there's that wedge that's been divided within women is because there's so much strength and knowledge when we come together as tribe, men and women, because we can share our knowledge, we can share our wisdom, we can co-create. And you think back in, you know, I don't know, let's go 500-600 years ago, and there, you know, little communities would come together and they'd support each other. The other person would help, you know, look after the kids while someone cooked the bread or did this or grew that, or, you know, it was a real beautiful community feel. And we've kind of been, and I believe, again, could be conspiracy theory, but again, it's been deliberately divided so that we aren't as strong, so we are not as together. We've been divided to, let's say, conquer and divide, right? Divide and conquer is the classic war term. So yeah, it's very interesting. And I do believe that as well with women, and you see it. Women are scared to connect with other women because they've been hurt in the past by another woman. I'm guessing it's the same with men. I see a lot of men that don't want to go to the men's groups because they're scared of, like you say, being vulnerable in a place with men, because men don't do that. Men aren't vulnerable. Men don't share, all that kind of stuff. So yeah, it's a beautiful space to be in at the moment, because there's so much opportunity and so much growth for people to grab hold of, and it's such a time to be alive because we've got information at our fingertips. We can do this like we are now, is sharing our wisdom. It's just the other parts that have got to come together, you know, so that we can connect and grow as a collective as well as individually.
100%. Yeah, it's so important, isn't it? That collective growth together, you know, not just that even that just comes back to what we share with our clients, you know, like so many of us like, oh, he's got work to do, or he needs to go and heal his past, or, you know, you're like, actually, no, it's really more powerful if you can do that together, if you can heal together and help and support each other, even just in a relationship. But if you can do that as a small community or a big community, then that's going to be like tenfold, you know, the impact and the benefit for everything.
And how beautiful is it? Like, you know, I mean, you're in a couple, so how, I mean, and I know from my past experience with my recent relationship, is the beauty in being able to sit down with the person that you love, openly communicate your wants, needs, desires, or fears, being held and that being received, and them telling you the same thing, and you holding and receiving what they've got. It's fucking beautiful. Excuse me swearing, but it's so powerful. Like, it's mind-blowing to me, because the first time I experienced it, I was like, wow, this is absolutely beautiful. And yet so many of us lack the knowledge, awareness, and skills to be able to do it. And I think like the work that you're doing is so important, because the more couples that can come together and show this to their children, look at it for the next generations, the love that's going to be shared, the, you know, the awareness, the creation, the everything that's going to come together. It's just going to be beautiful. That makes my heart joy.
Oh, that's so beautiful. And that's why we do it, you know, because we see the ripple effects. We've seen the ripple effect in our own life. We've seen it in our family, how we communicate with our kids. We see the change when a couple comes in and they're just so disconnected, and they can't, like, maybe the woman just feels like she just isn't understood, like deeply. You just don't get it, do you? All I want you to do is to just acknowledge my hurt and pain, stop invalidating it by trying to fix it or to do things. And then the guy is actually feeling then like he's inadequate because she's not happy. So he's kind of like in this defensive state. He's receiving criticism. That's how he processes it. But when you see a couple shift from there to maybe 4 or 5 weeks later to being in that state that you've just described, I'm getting goosebumps speaking about it, because we see it time and time again with the couples that we're working with. And I honor the couples for having the courage, firstly, just to face the fact that I need help. Like, I don't know how to fix this. It's not my expertise. And guess what? That's okay. I'm crap with cars. I don't even think about.
I love it.
Right. I do the basics. I can change a fuse. I can do a couple of things here and there. But when it comes to kind of changing wheel bearings and, you know, I just know that bloke over there can do it for $120, and I'm happy to pay that guy right now. And I think that it's sometimes we don't think about relationships. We don't think about investing in them. And servicing them in a way, and getting yourself to a level where you've had the upgrades necessary in order to have a harmonious kind of, you know, connection.
Well said.
Really well said. And I think that there's this big stigma around people investing in themselves. Like, you speak, like, there's a big thing about, you know, people investing in maybe their physical health, because people will go to the gym or whatever, or diet and all that kind of stuff, because physicality is really pushed in our face, isn't it? In society, you got to look a certain way, but we don't necessarily understand the power and what you get back from investing in yourself, in your mental health, in your, you know, in what's going on inside of you. Like, to me, if I'd known this 20 years ago, oh my God, like, obviously everything's worked out how it's meant to, but that's my if someone said to me, what's your biggest regret? I'd be like, not doing this earlier. Far out. Like, I wonder where my life would be if I'd done this 20 years ago. It would have been amazing. But it's all perfect as it is. But yeah, if anybody's listening and they're thinking, oh, you know, I don't want to waste my money, you get a good coach, you're not wasting your money. You are investing in your future, your children's future. Like, what more would you want to invest in? I don't understand. Like, it just blows my mind. You know, because I'm in it now. But if you'd asked me 10 years ago, I'd have been like, I don't want a coach. I don't need a coach. Wow. Yeah, going back to 10 years ago, Claire, going, invest in the coach.
Yes.
Yeah.
Do it now.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Totally.
Well, it's been really
Yeah.
nice to hear from you today, Claire, and we're just so blessed to have you on the show. And I'm sure we'll probably have you on again because we just love your message and what you bring and your energy. And for the listeners that are here that maybe want to find out a little bit more about what you do, because it's quite interesting and intriguing what you do. And I'm going to leave it with you now, just to maybe just how can people get in touch with you?
Yeah, perfect. Thank you so much. So I have my Instagram page, which is Claire Phillips _. And then I'm also on Facebook as well on Claire Phillips. Yeah, come and have a look, see what you think, have a feel, reach out to me. I'm the friendliest person you'll probably come across. And even if you're not too sure what you're looking for, have a chat and we can see where we go.
Yeah, I highly recommend Claire and all her work. I just love it too. So thank you so much for your time and really appreciate it, Claire.
Thanks for having me. It's been amazing.
Thank
Thanks.
you.